Hey, Momo never starts off these episodes, no?
Never?
You never start off the episode. I think you should give it a shot.
Welcome back. I don't like the way that sounded.
You want to do it again?
That's why you always start it.
So go.
Welcome back.
Okay, that was much better. Welcome back to the Meaningful People podcast, everybody.
Right?
Right. That's his thing, right? Right back.
How are you, dude?
We are joined, I just like, that's a rhetorical question. We are joined by Berel Solomon this week. Boy.
Berel.
What a guy.
What a guy.
What a story.
Seriously, dude.
He's been through a lot, and you're going to hear a lot about that in this week's episode of Meaningful People.
A lot of people know him
from
LinkedIn.
Yes.
A lot of people will be familiar with his work.
The business world.
Yeah, and he does really cool stuff, and he's out there, and he's loud, and people are aware of him. But I think based on our conversation with him today, people will see a side of him that they're not as familiar with.
Yeah, I think he's a little misunderstood. Mm-hmm. I think he's misunderstood. I think he's this guy that's just on his journey. Mm-hmm. He's on this journey of life, and boy, what he went through in so many different ways. And he found Hashem, and he found the Torah, and he's living life.
And it runs through everything that he does.
Exactly. So
and unapologetically. Too.
Unapologetically. Yeah. Very confident.
Very unapologetic.
And confident.
I'm going to say it one more time.
What is he supposed to apologize?
Just really unapologetic about it.
We like to thank our friends at Bridge Credit Solutions for sponsoring this week's episode. You see what I did there? What? Did you want to say something?
No, he's countering the Bridge Credit Solutions.
There it is. Another episode, another Bridge Credit Solutions. So go ahead and reach out to them because, oh, look, someone's walking in the street and they're smiling because their credit repair just got fixed.
Word for word.
Word for word. Just copying Bauman. But for real, guys, you've heard it.
For real.
Some of you have said, you know what, my credit's terrible. Someone told me, my credit's amazing, but I kind of want it to be terrible so I can use.
That's how people. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, my God.
I didn't see where you were going, dude.
So I'm going to say, his credit is terrible so I can use.
Bridge Credit Solutions.
So guess what? If you want to mess up your credit, then forget about those loans. Swipe your credit card and don't even think about that bill, and then you'll be able to call
Bridge Credit Solutions.
Hit the link in the description, hit the link in the show notes, and get in touch with
Bridge Credit Solutions.
Enjoy this episode. You are listening to the Meaningful People podcast.
The podcast featuring our nation's most impactful, influential,
and meaningful people. Berel Solomon.
Hey.
How are you, dude?
Nice to see you
Welcome
guys.
to town.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Montreal, right?
So, spending my summer now in Panama, seriously contemplating moving to Panama.
Interesting.
Whoa. Yeah.
So that's Shirley Besser's Montreal.
Yes.
Raquel Kirzenbaum was Panama. So we got...
And you're making the move.
We're
contemplating the move.
Seriously contemplating. It's a beautiful place.
You spending some time there?
Yeah. My wife's family's from there. Beautiful.
Yeah?
Tax-free haven, paradise.
Tax-free haven. You
25 kosher restaurants.
Wow. 25?
25. Yeah. We don't have 25 in the 5 towns, do we?
Yeah. Oh, we do.
We do?
Yeah.
Name them. Name them.
We have time.
I don't know. That's amazing. Panama. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Flourishing Jewish community.
Yeah. Beautiful place.
But that's not what you're known for. Just eating at good restaurants in Panama.
Right.
I guess let's dive right in. Berel Solomon.
Let's roll.
You're the guy with a ton of followers on LinkedIn and on Instagram and TikTok. And last year you put out a movie that has impressively 589,000 views. So a lot of people watch that.
Yeah.
And it's about your life. And it was called Orthodox.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, about 3 years ago during the pandemic, the plandemic, if I might say so myself, I'll get a little controversial here. During the pandemic, there was a show that came out called Unorthodox.
Yeah.
It was the original one, 3 years ago. And I remember I grew up in a non-religious community in Montreal. And every day I go to my old high school, and it's a non-religious Jewish high school, and I volunteer there every single morning. And one of the mothers from the school that I know hates Judaism because she actively tried to get me and my partner out of the school. She shared the link to Unorthodox on Facebook during the middle of the pandemic, and she says exactly what we needed right now.
Oy.
And not like, oh, exactly what we needed right now. No. This is exactly what we need. I don't know how it was here in New York, but the entire world in Montreal blamed the pandemic on the religious Jews.
Really?
Did that happen here?
I mean, in Brooklyn, there was a lot of that.
Yeah, you had
some super spreader events.
Right,
with-
super
like
spreader. Can you
Purim.
imagine the audacity that they blame Jews?
Bill de Blasio had some things to say.
And you look at what happened to him, Yerach Shemo, exactly.
Yeah.
So look what happened to him. He lost
Yeah.
everything. You saw the video of him recently? He's resigned. He's like, people don't want to vote for me.
He was running for like some city council or something. What is he?
Exactly.
He was running for some congressional seat.
You can't mess with the Yidden.
Beryl knows how to get Nachi fired up.
Yeah.
big.
So I got
Blasio
Blasio
fan.
fired. No big deal.
Yeah.
So anyways, they were all excited about this like new movie that came out, especially since it was like railing against Orthodox Jews. And it really hurt me because it's so the opposite of my personal experience. And I struggle every day I struggled every day in Montreal to fight for legitimacy as an Orthodox Jew. And here came something that totally proved again how bad Orthodox Jews are.
Attempting to prove.
Attempting.
But by the way, if you go on Netflix, but where do people get their information from? They get their information from Netflix.
A large majority. Yeah. Too many people, probably.
Yeah. And by the way, anyone watching this right now, like just for fun, go on Netflix, type the word Jewish. You'll see 15 films about the exact same thing. Jews leaving Judaism. The world has a vendetta against Orthodox Jews. They believe if Judaism is right, that means that Islam is wrong. If Judaism is right, then means Christianity is wrong. If Judaism is right, that means that. Am I making you nervous? Is that
Not
why
at
you're
all.
looking at the cameras?
No,
right?
I just make sure everything's rolling.
It means right. Okay, fine. It means. Do you edit this or no? This is just
Usually not.
Okay, good, fine.
Super candid.
Let's go.
We're still live, by the way.
All right. Okay. So
Sterling, maybe take that out.
they have a vendetta against us to show that we're leaving our Jewish roots. That's my hypothesis. So I said to myself, I have to portray this in a positive light. And I did this live. I did a Instagram live about my story, going from drug dealer and king of the nightclub business, prince of the nightclub business. I try to be humble. Becoming an Orthodox Jew, Lubavitcher Chassid. There was this guy watching it. He's one of my best friends. He's the largest commercial real estate owner in Canada. Jewish guy, not religious. He called me on the phone. He says, we got to turn this into a movie. He says, do you have like some sort of financial backer or something? I said, yes, I'm speaking to him right now. He wrote me a check for almost 100 G's and bang, we just started production.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to take you back a step in that process where you're seeing this content released on Netflix. You're conscious of this issue that people are developing and formulating their opinions about Orthodox Judaism based on what's out there on Netflix. And a lot of people identified this issue and a lot of people talked about it
Sure.
after davening.
Sure.
And then a lot of people just went to their office and you decided to do something about it. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that it's as sometimes as Jewish people, we're scared to be proud of who we are. But I think you had Ben Shapiro on the show the other day. I think you guys asked him the question, what's the one message you would give to the Jewish world?
Yeah.
And he said, we have a mitzvah to be a light unto the nations.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that I had a responsibility to the Jewish people to show the other side of the story.
Yeah, he challenged us. He's like, why aren't there more people with yarmulkes on TV?
The best.
Berel
I saw
Solomon.
that.
It's interesting. You
There you
know,
go.
we could discuss it. I had some feedback on that.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting. People are like, no, as Jews, we're supposed to not step into the limelight. We're supposed to, just, stay behind the wall. And we only engage with the world when it's 100% necessary for us to engage with the world. Otherwise, we are taught and we're told, to not engage. And I mean, for everyone listening, my answer is speak to your rabbi.
Orthodox rabbi.
Speak to the people who you trust, and I think everyone should have someone like that in their life.
Of course.
But
everyone has to have a guiding light for what it means to be an Ar Lagoyim, to be a light unto the nations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like, if like, let's say you go to Israel for Yom Tov and you're not sure whether you're holding the extra day or not. Like, for example, if you're Chabad, if you go to Israel, you don't hold the extra day Yom Tov, even though you're not usually there. And it's like, well, just hold it anyways. No, but you have to you have to put on tefillin if you're not, you know.
Sure.
So it's not like, oh, you could play both sides. And the same thing with
Chomer, sure.
yeah, it's the same thing here. Like, you have an achrayas, so better figure out what your achrayas is.
Speaking about flack, which I used to take very, very seriously. When people used to give me flack, I mean, from being on social media, I used to have very thin skin. I still have pretty thin skin. People don't know that about me. But I have a great coach that helps me through that. But I got a lot of flack in the beginning. You mentioned LinkedIn about talking about money so much.
Yeah.
And like perpetrating the Jewish stereotype about money. And it's been like 6 years since I've been doing that. And I feel that I've already broken through. Like everyone just expects it from me already. But I would get a lot. So my whole thing that I try to do with whether it's from the movie or whether it's talking about business is I always try to bring the Jewish perspective on whatever is going on in the world. So when, you know, stuff happened with COVID, I gave the Jewish perspective. Ukraine, abortion, gun laws, I mean, everything that happens, I try to bring the Jewish perspective. So when it comes to money, people would give me flack a lot in the beginning. Stop perpetuating the Jewish theme that Jewish people like money. And
we don't like money. We love money.
Right.
Erroneous.
Right. And the reason is because we do great things with money. Through money, you could affect and change and move and shake the world.
Yeah. Money cannot be intrinsically good or bad. It's a powerful resource that can be utilized for good or for bad.
Correct.
I want to take us back. We mentioned a number of areas already. We talked a little bit about your Instagram Live, which evolved to become a movie. We talked a little bit about it as if people are familiar with it, and I know a lot of people are. I want to give our listeners an opportunity to understand what went into making that film. It's really it's your story.
You had a chance to watch it?
I did.
I
watched it with my wife.
Yeah,
I watched it with my wife.
Cool.
Yeah, she was very excited.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I watched it right here in this office.
Thank
one
you, guys.
day.
Thank you.
And and again, we're going to dive in, and I want to hear, again, for people who didn't watch it, maybe they will, but I want to hear sort of the story through your eyes. Sure. I found like something so interesting when I was watching it is you have so much footage from when you were young.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at what point did he decide that he's going to make a movie about his life?
Ahead of his time, by the way, because people weren't videoing.
I was filming with like one of those giant camcorders.
Yeah.
The ones you wear on your shoulder.
Yeah.
I would hold it like this sometimes.
That's so funny. Like
people thought it was crazy.
I think the lesson is just record everything, guys. You never
By
know.
the way, I don't know if you caught it, but in the movie, I had a little clip of me saying, it was like 3:00 in the morning. My eyes were like red. I said in the video, I don't even know why I'm filming this right now, but I just have a funny feeling that I'm going to use this one day.
Wow.
And bang, I had all this content for a movie.
So tell us about your life growing up.
Sure.
And
So my first experience and one of my only experiences with God was when I was like 5 years old. I had this like gun that you would put into it ping pong balls. And I remember I lost all the ping pong balls. And I can't even tell you why. Nobody ever told me about God. But I just remember saying, like, God, please help me find a ping pong ball. As I opened the drawer, a ping pong ball was there. Mm-hmm. Wow. It really touched me. I remember whenever I would fly to Florida, like every year we'd fly to Miami, and I would pray the night before, 7, 8 years old, and I would say, God, please make sure the plane lands, and if it doesn't, please use your hand to bring down the plane, guide it gently.
Wow.
And I would always like pray like this. And
that dialogue is rare, given your affiliation at that point with Orthodoxy was what?
Right. I mean, zero. We
knew nothing about.
We went to synagogue like once a year, Yom Kippur, sometimes Rosh Hashanah. I went to like a Jewish school where like we learned about Israel and like all these things, but nothing too crazy. And so that was like my first like my first feeling with Hashem. Fast forward, I went into high school, and there was a boy in my grade. His older brother was a drug dealer. I mean, you guys know the story, but I'll just for the viewers,
Sure.
yeah. His older brother was a drug dealer, and he would pump drugs into the grade. It was an easy sale.
What grade are you in?
Seventh grade. We're 13 years old. It's
pretty young.
Yeah. So from 7th grade until I was 20 years old, me and my friends were high every single day of every single hour of every single moment of every single day.
Wow. 7th grade.
7th grade. Blasted. And nobody said a word. Nobody cared.
Public school.
No, it was a private school. It was a private school. It was a private Jewish school.
Really?
And
Jewish.
Right. And I mean, we would put Visine in our eyes. We'd put on Axe before we walked in from school. Anyways, all of my, like, I'm getting older and you know, I like business, and I figure, hey, you know, weed is something that you can't buy in a store and everybody needs. And hey, maybe I'll try my hand at it. And I started becoming like pretty big in that business. And one night I was making a big transaction. And as I was putting the package into the car, I get smashed in the back of the head by a gun. And I turn around and 3 guys in ski masks start beating me with guns. I had to get reconstructive surgery on my face. All my teeth in the front are fake. And they stole my car, they stole the package, they stole my keys, they stole my watch, and they left me on the side of the road to die. I had to call 911. They took me to the hospital, and it was a really hard time in my life. And I hid in my house for like 6 months because I had no idea who had done it to me. Like, that was the scariest part.
Wow.
That
Fear.
The fear. Like, everybody was a suspect. I had no idea who had done it to me. I mean,
Wow.
I later found out.
This can't go by without me mentioning you had just complimented him on his teeth. You're like, you have amazing teeth.
They're fake.
Wow. I came here straight from Dr. Jonathan Yoni Schwartz.
Yes.
Yoni
Straight from a
Schwartz.
root canal.
Yes.
Such a Haliad.
A robbery also was
Who hit you?
Oh, it was a root canal.
It was a root canal.
Right.
Guys, my teeth, nothing happened today. Thank God. Like, all good.
Guys, we left on a major cliffhanger. Everyone
Yeah.
watching this like, what happened?
We're putting an ad right here.
They
no?
yeah, exactly. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
And they took me to the hospital and they fixed me up, and I hid in my house for 6 months. And then I had a real problem because I owed a lot of money, a lot. And these guys were going to kill me if I didn't come up with the money. So I had a friend who was older than me. He was the coolest guy in town, and he was in the nightclub business. He would, you know, out of the movies with the velvet rope, and he always had the girls and the booze and the money, and he had everything. And I said to him, hey, like, could you teach me the business? Teach me the nightclub business. And we went out for dinner, and 3 weeks later, I had planned my first party in a nightclub, and it was sick. It was amazing. I had like 80 people showed up. I made $80 that night. They ended up paying me $1 a head. Go figure. I walked to the bathroom. I jumped up and down with the $80. When I left the bathroom, though, I wasn't so impressed because I saw all of my friends completely drunk, passed out in the nightclub. Like good, sweet Jewish boys and girls, just like totally sloshed. Just it was not a pleasant experience. But the money was decent, and I kept on promoting, and I started to build a reputation and build a name. And any nightclub that I would go to, I would put my remember MSN? Do you guys remember MSN?
Is that like a email MSN?
Do you remember MSN?
Vaguely.
It was like ICQ, and then it went MSN.
Okay.
Remember ICQ?
No.
How old are you guys?
Wow.
37.
You're 37?
26.
You don't remember ICQ?
27.
Uh-oh. You don't remember that? You're joking. Anyways, whatever. MSN,
How old are you?
MSN, I'm 33.
Where have you been?
MSN was like...
I was in Philly Yeshiva.
It was, exactly. It was like AOL, but for like Canadians.
MSN. Okay.
AOL Messenger?
Yeah.
AOL, yeah.
AOL,
We
yeah.
had that in the
IMing.
US.
Yeah.
But you're Canada is
I'm
just
sorry.
different.
Chatati aviti pashati. I'm Canadian. I'm sorry.
Canadians.
I might be Panamanian soon. You never know.
You never know. Listen, I need to get away from Trudeau, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm promoting in all these nightclubs, and I'm making like serious money. I'm making like $5,000 a night. I was like 18, 19 years old. In Canada, the legal drinking age is 18, and it's just a suggestion. They like suggest you start at 18. You could start sooner if you want.
Really?
And I was making all this money, and I paid back the dealers, and I had left that part of my life, and I really had owned this new part. And then I started bringing celebrities to the nightclubs, and we would pay them, you know, a few $1,000s to show up. And one night, the owner of a club called Time Supper Club, his name is Terry. He called me, says, "You ever hear this guy Aubrey from Degrassi?" I said, "No, who's that?" He's this upcoming guy, and he also raps a little bit too. He has a rapper name, I think it's Drake. Have you ever heard of him before? I said, no, I haven't heard of him. I called one of my friends and said, have you heard of this guy? Aubrey from Degrassi. I love Degrassi. So I said, okay, let's bring him. How much does he cost? Cost $4,000. I said, how are we going to get him here? I said, well, I don't want to fly him. Could the guy take a Greyhound bus? I said, yeah, he'll take a Greyhound bus. I organized Drake's Greyhound bus
Wow.
to come to Montreal. And he was so cool, by the way.
He was.
He was really cool. I said to Drake, he was sitting next to me in the club. We were hanging out the whole night because I had brought him there. And I said to Drake, anything you need weed, you need women, you need this, that. Tell me what you need. And he said, nah, man, I don't need any of that. I'm cool. Like, he was there for business. Like, he was straight. Okay? So I was filming this whole thing because the Kardashians had just come out with their reality show at that point. Facebook had just become a thing. So there was a distribution channel. And I was filming all of this process of me in the nightclubs, and it was cool. It was like, it was cool. And I went to put it all together to make this pilot episode of the reality show to try to sell it to MTV. I'm like 21 years old at this point. And I play it I invite thousands of people to come to a premiere. It was a red carpet event. It was I hired paparazzi. I hired 20 guys to stand there with cameras. So as people came out, and I aired it on the big screen. And I saw myself and I said, I hate this person. I hated who and what I stood for. I stood for drugs, sex, and rock and roll. And I was disgusted by it. And I left my own party. I walked out. I found the next exit sign. I hailed a cab humbly, and I got in it, and I left. And no one from that world knew what happened to me. I stopped answering everybody's phone calls. I just wanted to have nothing to do. I was so disgusted with myself. And I started to learn. I wanted to live a different way. I wanted to find a different way to live. And in my mind, Judaism was false because I had been to Jewish school my whole life. And I wanted to find a different way to live. And I started learning Christianity. I read the entire Old Testament, the entire Quran, every book Buddhism has to Buddhism. It's a
remix.
Yeah, straight out of the nightclub.
I want to stop you there for a moment.
Tell me.
That just freeze frame.
Everyone's interested in this moment. Yes.
Yeah,
I know what you're going to ask.
The freeze frame of looking up and deciding. You share here that you hated what was going on and that you just found the nearest exit sign and walked out.
Yeah.
Right. And I imagine people ask you to identify what is it that was driving that. And I don't know. We have a neshama.
That's what it was, man.
The neshama is there, and it's unstoppable.
Yeah.
And it's yearning, and you just felt it.
Yeah. It was like, in the Torah, there's one person that cannot do tshuva in the Torah. It's called a maces. You ever heard of a maces before? A maces is somebody that causes other people to leave the path of Torah and Hashem. And at that moment, I was a maces. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had no idea what I was doing. So I think that's why Hashem had compassion on me. But at that moment, I was about to lead a lot of people in a really bad, really dark place. And at that moment, it says that if somebody is going to kill you or you bow down to an idol, the Tanya says that even the lowest of the lowest Jew will allow himself to be killed rather than bow down to an idol. And I was at that moment. I didn't realize it at the time. And I didn't say, oh yeah, let me go daven and put on tefillin.
Right.
That was the last thing I was thinking. I remember I had a Quran in my knapsack, and I would go to Concordia University, and I would go to the, Free Palestine clubs, and I would say, hey, I'm Jewish and I'm with you. Look, I have a Quran in my knapsack. I wanted to be so against Judaism because I thought it was completely false.
Wow.
Because if Judaism was true, everybody would put on tefillin. And why are my teachers not putting on tefillin? Why are my teachers not keeping Shabbos, not keeping kosher? They're smarter than me. They looked into it, and therefore it's false. I don't want to be false. I lived false. So I associated Judaism in the same geder as nightclubs, this nightclub business. It was false.
Wow.
How do you get
So
out
you
of
engage in this search.
I engage in the search. Would you ask how do you get out of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, right. So I start learning, and I really, out of all the religions, I really liked Buddhism, because it was very peaceful.
Let's hope that doesn't stick.
Yeah, exactly. It was very peaceful. And I remember I really wanted tranquility, and I really found a lot of peace in Buddhism. And I actually feel that Hashem knows what he's doing, right? So he helped me. I feel like Buddhism was like my It was like my sorbet to clean my palate, to bring it back to neutral. And it really calmed me down. I really meditated. I would sit on hills, like in my town where the parks were, for like 6 hours, not talking to anybody with my eyes closed, just breathing. And my mother at the time was freaking out because they watched me going from the prince of the nightclub prince of the nightclub business to the monk of the house. I stopped answering my phone. I stopped talking. I literally, you would say, "Hey, how are you?" I'd go like this. Because it's a thing in Buddhism that you take a vow of silence. And I would do that. And it really helped me. It actually helped me. It helped cleanse me from like the world. Looking back now, I see what's happening. So I say to my mother one day when I was talking, I said, "There's a Buddhist temple in Montreal and I want to go." And she says, "Before you go to the Buddhist temple, maybe you should go to shul." Today she says, maybe I would have been better in the Buddhist temple because I would have been normal. But no, she's happy today. Thank God, they're very happy with my decision. And I listened to her, and it was a conservative shul, and I put on my nicest suit, and I started singing on the way any Jewish song that I could sing. I remember on the way, I was literally singing Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yitzir. I was the only Jewish song I knew.
Wow.
That I remembered.
Who wrote that song?
I don't know.
Somebody very intelligent.
Like Avram Avinu? Like who wrote that?
I think it was Benny Friedman.
No. I think it's
In
before.
the songbooks, whenever the composer is unknown, it just says traditional.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I guess it's traditional.
I feel bad for the composer of the song, though.
Poor guy.
Crazy.
I think his name was traditional.
Yeah, maybe.
Great soups too.
Yeah.
And
So you get to that shul.
I get to that shul, and I remember the chaz in there was a Breslover chassid. He was also a Baal Tshuva, clean shaven, totally happy. I mean, I don't know if you guys know any Breslovers.
Sure. Of course.
They're like some of the coolest guys in the world.
Oh,
He had happiness pouring out of his face. I don't know if it was happiness mixed with holiness. I had never seen holiness before. And
how connected those two things are, by the way.
yeah. L'chaim to that. It's a big vort, by the way. Big vort. And I just remember saying to myself, whatever this guy knows, I have to know. Like that, whatever's on that guy's face, I need to know that. So I went back every Shabbos and I got closer to him and he started to teach me. And the Torah was so profound. It was so delicious. It was so good and it was so deep. And I remember one time, like I had learned with him, we were learning like Likutei Moran or whatever it was. And I remember my body couldn't handle the, I guess I would call it today, Kedusha. I didn't know what to call it then. But it was, have you guys like ever really learned something for like a few hours and you get that like...
It's a visceral experience.
It's a visceral experience. Like it just like, everything, you lost everything. You're just so absorbed in it. I had never experienced that before. And I remember when I heard the word Hashem for the first time. It was so special. It was like, sort of the feeling when you see like an old cartoon from your childhood and it's like, just like, it brings you back like
Core memory.
And I heard the name Hashem and I was like, I forgot. I remember what that was. I forgot about Hashem. But I remember, I forgot since I was a kid in my ping pong balls.
Wow.
And it's just like, bam, it brought me back. And
the Maranida says that we learn, as a fetus, we learn the entire Torah in the womb. The acquisition of any Torah knowledge in this world is that feeling of remembering. It's the neshama recollecting what it already contains.
I had it. Hashem. I remember the first time I heard the word Hashem. Hashem. And Breslevers are really big into talking to, like, out of Torah study, davening, mitzvahs, everything, their main thing is just talking to Hashem. Just like one-on-one. I'll tell you, I don't think if I was brought back Chabad originally, I don't think I would have done tshuva. Because they're really focused on like tefillin and mitzvahs and learning and all these things.
You needed the relationship with God.
I needed God. I remember like one time somebody asked me like, want to learn halacha? I'm like, what's that? He's like, rules. I'm like, I have enough rules. Thank you. Get out of my life. But when you love Hashem so much and you know that this is what he wants from you, you want to do it. So Breslev really gave me that intimate relationship. I spent so many hours in the forest, just me and Hashem. And
Spartacus.
Spartacus.
Oh, delicious.
Gedalia Fenster on this program.
Yeah.
That's his jam.
Yeah. Gedalia's a good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy. Does a lot of good for a lot of people.
Really early in the morning.
Yeah.
Super early.
What time?
4.
4:30 he does the Spartacus, yeah.
Listen, it's for some people.
Yeah. But it could be done in the car. I mean, we did
Yeah.
his Hisbodedus before we started. We prayed to
Yeah.
Hashem that this should be successful.
There you
Yeah.
go.
We didn't have to open up a book. And I think that that's where a lot of people get lost. Like when I work with teenagers, the first thing that I do is tell them, like, talk to Hashem. Tell him what you're thankful for and ask him for something. And then once you have that relationship with, why would somebody care to do mitzvahs if they don't know Hashem? I wouldn't care. It's actually very cumbersome to do mitzvahs. But when you know that that's going to bring you closer to Hashem.
Do you think, pausing your story for a second,
Yes.
do you think that as, you being a Baal Tshuva,
Yes.
I guess you never really had the experience of being sort of a from birth, or they call it an FFB, from birth. So the question really is, I don't know, it's hard. I'm hearing what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you're also from birth, Momo.
I do. I identify as from birth.
You identify? Okay, good.
The upbringing is, it's different than what Berel is sort of mentioning here. There was not like an adult stage of life where it's just like, boom, it all,
Bang.
Yeah, when a person is raised from birth,
Yeah.
it's harder to appreciate
Sure.
the choices that we make every day.
Sure.
Because we grew up with it.
Sure.
Right? It's there for us. It's available if we are mindful, if we do educate ourselves and we do learn to appreciate every aspect of Yiddishkeit. But when a person did not have that upbringing,
Yeah.
if they're going to incorporate it into their life, it has to be the result of a conscious choice.
Yeah.
And
So
that comes with a lot of...
So let me ask you this, guy. I'm curious about the subject. Yeah. Like, there was not a point where, like, boom, it hit you in the face that, like, God is real, and it's not like my mom told me to do it or my parent. I mean, I don't know. I look at my kids. My kids know Hashem is real.
Your kid, yeah. Why?
But because we make it real. Meaning, like,
that's the chinuch that you're giving them.
Make it real. My kid needs something, and I'm like, did you daven to Hashem? Did you ask Hashem for it?
Yeah. My great-grandfather, Zochron Lebracha, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, he passed away in 1986.
Okay, yeah.
And there was a machanech, a rebbe, who brought a child to him and was asking him how to punish this child.
Yeah.
So he said, what was the crime that we're looking to sentence here? And he said he gambled away his Olam Haba in a game of jacks.
Sure.
So how do we reprimand a child like this?
Interesting.
And Rabbi Yaakov Zochron Lebracha said, we're not going to reprimand him. We're going to bring him to the front of the class and we're going to teach every single kid, all of his peers, how real this kid's Olam Haba was to him.
Wow.
It was
Interesting.
so real
I just
to
got
him
the shivers.
that he can put it on the
just got the
table and
shivers.
gamble it away.
Woof. Very
That's-
nice way to look at it.
Yeah.
Somebody once came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe when he first started putting on tefillin with people, or suggesting his chassidim to put on tefillin with people. And the big taina, the big complaint was that they don't have the right kavana as they're putting on tefillin. They don't have the right mindset. So you're going to take a guy, he's completely not religious, and he doesn't have the right mindset. So he's thinking about all kinds of things. So how could you put on tefillin on such a guy? You're supposed to have the right mindset when you're wearing tefillin.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lubavitcher Rebbe told him, when he puts on tefillin, he has a much higher and kavana and mindset than you do when you put on tefillin.
Wow.
Because for him, he's stopping his whole life, his whole day, and making a very conscious decision to put on those tefillin. By you put it on, you take it off like a pair of pants. I mean, those aren't the Rebbe's words, but that's what he meant.
So that's like the dichotomy.
Right. I think when a person grows up from birth, a lot of times when a real challenge occurs,
Right.
when a person has a crisis or a tragedy,
Lo aleinu. Right.
we shouldn't know from it.
Yeah.
A lot of times that invites the reality
Yeah.
of how real is your relationship with Hashem right now.
Yeah.
Do you ever wish that you were from birth?
I'll tell you, that's a great question, by the way.
Thank you.
You're good at this. You should have you should have some sort of talk show or something.
I'm curious. I was actually going to first ask Momo if you ever wish that you were not from birth, and you were about
That's
to.
it. That's also a good question.
He's giving Berel time to think about his answer. I mean, that's the argument, but the dilemma between Moshe Rabbeinu and Yisro.
Right.
Yisro was the Kayan Midyan. He went through all the religions.
Sure.
And there was this big debate whether it's worthy to raise a child in that way. And we believe that ultimately anyone that does grow up with that experience, that's their avodah, that's their work to find it.
Sure.
But if you can raise someone from birth, that's, of course, the way we go.
So I've never thought of the question. So thank you for asking it. But I will tell you, one time I was watching Manis Friedman, and he said something. He's like, kids that are born FFB from birth in like a nice home, and they had all that hinuch about Hashem, and there's respect in the house and all those things. And like disclaimer to everybody watching, yes, just making you religious and religious families, not everything is going to be perfect, and religious families have their problems. I have to give those disclaimers. Okay. Oh, let me just give one more disclaimer. The lady from Unorthodox, she had her story, and I respect her, and she's allowed to have that story. But you also have to show, for every one that goes out, 99 come in. So you have to, the what's it called has to be even. The reporting has to be even. So after all my disclaimers, Manis Friedman said, when you're born from and you grow up in that environment, you're already so much ahead of the game. Like I have like a lot of demons that I have to battle with on a daily basis. Self-esteem issues, bitochen issues, I had to overcome. I mean, we spoke about this before. I quit smoking weed 12 years ago. When I was growing up, pornography was a very normal, encouraged, healthy thing. Like our teachers would talk about it. And so that was like my part of my life. That's who I was. And so I had to like walk away from all of that. So I feel like just to be like normal, I have to work
a little harder.
I have to work twice as hard. I feel, again, I've never been FFB, but I feel that I have to work twice as hard as everyone just to be normal.
It's so interesting. I'm looking at you, and you're mentioning a story that you were, your teeth got knocked out, and I was like, and I think this is like a lesson really when you look at anybody, but you look at someone and you don't even know what they've been through.
Yeah.
Because you don't look like someone who had their face messed up, and he's smiling.
Thank
You don't look like that, but I mean, you don't know what anyone goes through. So I look at you, and that's why I'm happy we're having this discussion. Like we're hearing so much of the experience that you went through.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now like life is crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. And to bring it to a lot of our listeners, you've obviously had and you're sharing some extraordinary life experiences. Yeah. I think it's an opportunity for us to double click on the underlying message, which is when you're sitting in that restaurant, and yes, Nafi, I'm double clicking.
No, Twitter wanted to know if you ever single click.
Oh, nice. Why would you single click if you can double click?
Twitter sucks.
Oh, shoot.
We'll talk about it soon. I said it.
He said it.
The guy
LinkedIn
sitting
rocks.
next to you in the restaurant, the girl sitting across the restaurant, you have absolutely no clue not only what happened to them in their childhood, what happened to them on their way in.
Yeah.
I know it. Like someone look at you, they wouldn't know you just had a root canal.
Correct.
Yeah. Right.
Like just be
and what's hysterical,
bring it home. Yeah.
is that once you do learn of what that is, how quickly we become tolerant, we become patient,
Right.
just by learning what the information is.
Yeah.
And our avodah, our work, is to accept that sometimes we're going to know what challenge that person is encountering or lived through or is living through right now as we speak.
Yeah.
And sometimes we won't know, ever.
Yeah.
But rest assured, there is something there. So be a little bit more tolerant, a little bit more patient, because the same way you know what you're going through, that other person's going through something too.
Yeah. Well said. To, one of the selfish reasons for making that film was I always felt misunderstood. Like people just, if you were to watch my social media, you just like wouldn't understand. Like, look at the jacket I'm wearing. From guys with beards don't dress like this. Not this style.
Oh, now everyone's going to have to go on YouTube to watch it.
Exactly. Yeah. I really felt misunderstood for a long time. And I really feel from this film, I can now really be myself, because and I think that's why some people like my social media, is that I'm open and vulnerable on it, because, and I do it almost selfishly, because I like to have extremely meaningful relationships. And I feel that one of the only ways to do that is to show not only the good, but also show the struggle as well. Because that's really how you connect with somebody. If I told you how great everything is, great, I feel like one of the things that we lack, when you ask someone, how are you? And we say, Baruch Hashem, obviously it's a nice thing to say, but sometimes you guys, I'm not doing so good.
Rav David Cohn once asked somebody, how are they? Or maybe he heard someone ask and they answered, Baruch Hashem. He said, Baruch Hashem what?
Yeah.
Whether you're doing good or you're not doing good, it's Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem, you're doing well. Right. Baruch Hashem, you're not doing well. It's always Baruch Hashem,
Yeah.
Put some respect on that name.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you do a great job on social media of being real.
Thank you.
With your audience.
Thank you.
How do you, I heard when you were sharing about that moment in your story when you walked out of the nightclub.
Yes.
You did it in a humble fashion.
Yeah.
You said, I'd love to hear you reflect on the role that humility plays.
Sure.
Because you are very out there.
Yes.
You are your image is your brand, and everything that you're building.
Confident.
Yeah. Everything that you're building is, it's your image.
Sure.
How do you maintain that thread of humility, and what role does it play for you?
Okay, so I want to set the record straight. I'm like one of the least confident people out there.
Can you say that? Can you say I, Berel Solomon, are one of the...
I, Berel Solomon, am one of the least confident people on planet Earth.
Wow.
On the past 24 hours, I have been huddled with my coach 4 separate times because I feel that I go a little bit outside the box, and it's really scary to go outside the box. And I think that most people want to stay inside the box so they're not judged. The second you step outside the box is when you invite judgment. Mm-hmm. So that I have such thin skin, but at the same time, my nature is a person that pushes boundaries. So it's not like I want to be this outgoing guy. That it's just like, lahavdil, a dog barks and plays with bones, and that's just who he is. I am a boisterous, outlandish, go-getting person on the outside, and unfortunately, it comes with inviting, good attention, but also comes with really harsh attention, which is why I said I don't like Twitter because Twitter is like an angry place where people, at least for me, I don't know.
Twitter's got a lot of...
It's like anger. Everyone on Twitter is anger.
I just feel like Twitter has this like ability that people can say things and not be accountable to it because they can, have burner accounts or have... I guess it's harder to do that on other places like on Instagram or
like to your face.
Yeah, definitely to your face. Yeah, people will say things maybe they won't say to your face.
I call them keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warriors.
So anyways, how did I get here? We're talking
humility.
Oh, okay. So I think that, and then when it comes to why do you consider me humble? I consider it a very, very, really big compliment, because the most hurtful thing that anyone ever said to me when I was younger was that they called me arrogant. And I get that sometimes.
Do you think people think you're arrogant?
I think I'm a little arrogant, but it's just who I am. I don't try to be like that.
I want to clarify.
Tell me.
I didn't compliment you as being humble. Rather, I said rigorous honesty here.
That's a Bauman right there.
Rather,
I did not compliment you.
I said, when I heard you sharing,
it
seemed that humility is something that is of value to you.
Yes.
It's a virtue. Right. It's important to you.
Yes.
So I want to know what role it has for you.
Okay, so I use humility in a very selfish way. Let me explain to you how. I think humility is one of the most powerful things that a person can have. When you're becoming Baal Tshuva, we have a very bad joke. I don't even know why we tell it, but you have 3 Baal Tshuvas looking at a light bulb, and we're all asking each other, "Can we change it?" Meaning, when you come back to Judaism, you have to have such humility. You have to change everything about what you do, how you walk, how you talk, how you dress, how you act, how you think, how you speak. You can't even go to the bathroom in the same way. How you sleep. You have to completely have such humility that you have to say to yourself, everything that I've ever known is wrong. Not wrong, but everything I have
uncertain. Calls into question everything.
Question.
Just uncertain about it.
Correct. But with that humility to say, I don't know better. There's somebody that knows better than me. I think that humility is what allowed me to become religious, because I was humble enough to say, I don't have all the answers. That humility was what allowed me to start a new business, because I was able, businesses whenever I want, because when you go into a new business, you have to have such humility. I mean, thank God I have 2 very successful businesses. I'm going into a 3rd one now, and I'm a total fish out of water in that new business.
Right.
I'm opening up an import-export business in Panama, God willing, and I have to have such humility, because in the video production business, I'm a big shot. In the coaching...
It's like Michael Jordan going into baseball.
Bang.
Yeah, which he did.
Bang. So now I
wish you more hatzlacha
I'm in.
Then Michael.
than Michael in baseball.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. It made for good talking points.
It did.
Good mashalim. But
Yeah.
now I'm like trading materials. I'm like, I have to have such humility. I have to step down from the big shot perch and be like, what's the tariffs in the country? Like, you have to have real humble questions.
We'll be right back to this.
Back.
There it is. And on LinkedIn, scrolling through, where a platform where Berel Solomon is extremely, extremely popular on, you see a lot of professionals.
Interesting. Well played, Nachas.
Yes. Do you know where those professionals got their start?
Probably Touro University.
Because is there a better place to go to school than...
Touro University?
I'm trying to get you to do a Touro University.
No, it's a different Indian.
It's a different Indian?
It is. It really is.
Okay, well, anyways, what's not a different Indian is that you should be reaching out to Touro.edu/more, because, hey, are you Jewish? Do you want to have an education? Do you want to maybe excel in a career? Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter what you've accomplished in your life up until now.
Yes, 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 and yes to all of Nachi's rhetorical questions.
You should go ahead and reach out to Touro University. So go ahead.
Touro, T-O-O.
Oh, he doesn't know. Touro, Touro.
.edu/
more. And guess what? If you see a Touro billboard somewhere, just smile inside and say, there's more for
University.
you. There's more for you at Touro. Now back to this episode.
I love the way you're framing it and the role that it already has played in becoming from. I heard something recently about humility that really resonated with me, that humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's just thinking of yourself less.
Not thinking less of yourself,
just
thinking of yourself less. Wow.
Like, you can acknowledge the fact that you've built 2 successful businesses.
Thank God.
And you've crushed it.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's not counter to being humble.
Right.
Right? You don't have to negate accomplishments to be humble. You don't have to be down on yourself. You don't have to think less of yourself.
You don't have to degrade yourself, right?
You just have to think less
of yourself.
By the way, I think
of yourself less.
a big point that people miss. I remember, like, when I used to go to, what's the big, in Montreal, here you guys don't have this, but in Montreal, the non-religious community, what's their big complaint or taina against the religious community is that they're poor. I don't know why the Montreal Jewish community, I'm not making grand, there's exceptions to the rule, but on general, the non-religious are much, much, much wealthier than the non-religious. I think it has to do with the French. I think it has to do with the amount of incentives that the government gives people for having a lot of children. So
saying the religious Jews in Montreal are wealthier than the non-religious.
Yeah. No.
The opposite.
The non-religious Jews are extremely wealthy in Montreal.
And the religious
Jews are poor. A lot of them are poor.
Right.
There's exceptions, right? Whereas, so my perception of religious Jews growing up was like that, like very enclosed, humble, white pasty versus, so that humility.
You have to go to Lakewood, by the way.
Right. There's good yidden in Lakewood. That self-effacingness really, I think, it's a mistranslation of humility, because I could tell you one thing: Moshe Rabbeinu was the humblest man in the world, but he was a hell of a leader. And I think that a lot of people misinterpret humility.
Nice.
Berel, how did you get to where you are now? We were in the middle of discussing your story, and I'm just, take me to like where you are now. You're married, you got a family, you're raising from kids.
Thank God.
What's that leap?
From that world to this world?
Yeah.
First of all, I want to mention that there is no other world. Meaning the other world, most of my friends from the other world are, with the very few exceptions, are not married, in and out of rehab, dating people that are not Jewish. It's a whole mess. They have no life, gambling up and down. The ones that made it big also go on big busts. By the way, the nice thing about Touro tempers success. The more rich and successful a person becomes without Touro, the more that success is going to destroy them. Look at Jeff Bezos, look at Bill Gates, the list goes on and on and on. Johnny Depp, the list goes on and on. So there is no other world. So Touro is like, for me, I always say Chabad is like religion for dummies, okay? Why? Because all you got to do, and I don't know about other religious groups. I'm sure they're all great. My only experience is with Chabad, mainly, besides a little bit of Breslev in the beginning.
Right.
Chabad, for a Baal Tshuva, is like a train. And all you got to do every single day is show up to the train, synagogue, show up to shul, and if you just keep on showing up, you don't have to do anything. Once you're on the train, it's going to take you to where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, thank God, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, I remember one time, I fought the Lubavitcher Rebbe for a long time. I remember people would quote the Rebbe, and I really hated it. I hated anybody who was Chabad, because you would ask them a question, and they would say, the Rebbe says. It doesn't exist in the world. You ask somebody a question, they say, Lahavdil, Barack Obama says. And then you ask them a question, Obama says. And then you ask them another question, Obama says this about that. There's no concept in the world about that. So I fought the Rebbe for a long time. One day I'm sitting in a shul, and I said to my friend who was sitting next to me, who was a chassid, I said, it's amazing. We're sitting in the rabbi's, 20 years ago, the rabbi had this shul in his mind, and he built it. Can you imagine? And he said, no, you're sitting in the Lubavitcher Rebbe's thought from 50 years ago. And I feel that the Rebbe really made a place for people like me. He made a seat on the train for people like me. And all I had to do was show up. And if you show up in Judaism every day, eventually you will bring, God willing, your grandchildren to the chuppah.
Wow. That's beautiful. I want to use that parallel construct where you think you're sitting in one person's vision, you end up in someone else's. It struck me as you were sharing that you were videoing your experiences in the nightclub, thinking that what you're doing is creating this buzz, creating this noise, and in reality, you were executing Hashem's vision of there being this orthodox.
I never thought of it even like that. Very interesting perspective.
Yeah,
meaning that was I was doing Hashem's work.
Yeah.
Filming in the nightclub
unknowingly,
without knowing.
Yeah. Unknowingly, I was doing a mitzvah.
Gewalt. That's when we say that when you do tshuva, zedoinus nasan like his chuyas, right? Your downside becomes your upside.
Wow.
This is an illustration of that.
Wow. You know, I was dating a girl who was not religious, who was not Jewish, as I was becoming religious. And there was days that I remember I would look into the mirror, and I was becoming a little more religious, and I would look into the mirror. I remember one day I started to cry because I looked at myself in the mirror. I said, how could I be doing this? And I thought I was the most horrible person, but I really thought I loved her. And I remember the last day that I saw her, I remember feeling so bad about myself. I said, in order to make it up to Hashem, I said, Hashem, I'll never eat non-kosher again.
Yeah.
So it's in this Gentile woman's schus that I became kosher.
Wow.
So even as we're sharing this, you know, he mentioned, he mentioned like because of this Gentile woman, I became kosher. As I'm sharing this, I feel a lot of shame as I'm talking about it. And there's a story of Reish Lakish that he was one of the most powerful physically men of his time. And he sees Rabbi Yochanan bathing in the water, and he saw how beautiful he was, and he jumps in, and he jumped all the way to the middle of the lake. And Rabbi Yochanan said, if you use your power for good, your
Torah.
strength for Torah, I'll give you my daughter. She looks exactly like me. He was a very handsome man. He lost all of his power.
Because Reish Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan, you should use your beauty for women. And then Rabbi Yochanan says, you should use your strength for Torah.
Is that how it went through?
Shofrech l'nashi, chelech l'raisa.
There you go. So he lost all of his power. He couldn't jump out. He had to walk out, and he ended up becoming chavrusas in one of the biggest, stages in the Gemara. And one day, one day Rav Yochanan says to him, they were learning something about theft, and he says, well, you would know, you used to be a thief. And he became so embarrassed that he died. So as I talk about these things, I have a lot of shame and a lot of embarrassment. I have 4 children. I have 3 wives. No, I'm just joking. Just one wife. I have 4 children, 1 beautiful wife. Thank God. Hi, Eliana. You're the best. I love you. And I feel a lot of shame, embarrassment, but I do feel like I brought thousands of beautiful, sweet, innocent Jewish kids into nightclubs on Friday night for years. And I feel that I could even cry saying it. I feel I have a responsibility to bring at least 10 times that into Judaism. And part of that for me is connecting with people on their level, on a level that they could understand. So in a certain sense, although it fills me with a lot of shame and embarrassment to talk about, that's also how I connect with tens of thousands of young kids who are going through that exact same thing.
For sure.
It's very vulnerable.
Yeah, and this is precisely how, through doing tshuva, zedainis nasim like ischuyas, how your experience, you don't shut the door on it. You don't say that never happened. It did happen.
Yeah.
And you own your story, and you see how your story can help so many people.
Which I don't mean to keep on plugging Chabad here, but if I was Satmar, there's no way I could ever tell my story. Although I have so many Satmar friends, but Bells, Rish, I just don't think that if I was one of those, I hear a lot of times, by the way, I don't live in New York or New Jersey, but a lot of people told me like I'm making this new movie on coming up on charity, on tzedakah, and a lot of people are like, I just can't be so public because I'm scared my kids won't get into yeshiva, or I'm scared for the shidduchim of my kids. Happens to be in Chabad because I made that movie. I think I'm going to get the best shidduchim in town.
Tell us a little bit about this movie.
It's a different currency.
Yeah, right. So just to close that chapter, you should know, I don't pay you guys enough to be my therapist, but there's a lot of shame associated with that. And I know it's silly, and I know I have to work on it, but I think that also the frum world has to be more accepting of people who, there's a guy in my shul, he's tattooed head to freaking toe. When this guy goes to the mikvah, there's no bigger Kiddush Hashem, I think, in the world.
Gewalt.
So you mentioned Yisro, by the way. The whole Torah was named after Yisro. Sorry, the parsha that we got the Torah was named after Yisro. Why? Because he was the biggest avodah zarah, the biggest Kohen for all of the shmutz in the world. And if he came back to Torah, it was the biggest Kiddush Hashem. I think the Torah world has to have a little more sensitivity for
differences, people who are different. What's your closing message on that chapter for people coming into contact with Bala Tshuva? Yeah. What's the message for them?
Okay, so I actually think that Bali Tshuva are actually really well received. So I actually think that they're okay. Chabad loves them. You guys think I'm cool because I had this whole thing. A Belzer or a Satmar guy, they'll listen to me for hours and they really praise and they will quote me all the psukim. So I actually think Bal Tshuvas are okay. Mm-hmm. I think it's the people that are frum. They want to explore. I think those are the people that has to be more sensitivity to.
Interesting.
I like that.
I think that their journey has to be respected and encouraged.
Interesting. We're more, as a people, we're more tolerant and inviting of Bali Tshuva than the struggling FFB.
I have no problem. They sing my praises from the rooftop. The schmutzier I was, the cooler I am. But people who are born from and then go off.
It's like someone
and then come back. They need a little more.
It's like someone could bully their own sibling. It's sort of
exactly.
I think also, and we've talked about this in recent episodes, how there is a lot of awareness around people that grow up from that end up far away from Yiddishkeit.
Right.
And you identified we're very tolerant of Bali Tshuva. I think we're coming around slowly but surely on people that grow up from and end up really, really out there. But I think there's another subset of the demographic, which is people that grow up from and they're just struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
We're so quick to not be judgmental and to be inviting of the Baal Tshuva.
Yes.
Right? let's apply that same compassion
Yes.
and empathy
Yes.
and not lack of judgment to the person who was in the same yeshiva as us,
Yeah.
who was in the same shul as
Yeah.
us, and he's just, or she's just having a hard time.
I think it's easy to look at somebody who you see as less than you and say, I tolerate you. And it's harder to look at someone who considers himself an equal or even superior and tolerate them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have to, I mean,
Especially this time of year. We gotta, yeah.
Yeah. YY Jacobson is talking a lot about this lately. I mean, like all, just tolerance and love. That's it.
I want to discuss, as we get, we're like beginning to land,
Yeah.
I want to discuss social media.
Let's go there.
What you're doing is really cool. You're, very, very popular on LinkedIn. A lot of, connections, followers on there.
LinkedIn's a big sponsor on Meaningful People.
Yeah. Thank you.
LinkedIn.
Who's
Are they though?
www.linkedin.com.
Yeah. Go for LinkedIn Premium. Like, why not? Right. Like, by the way, guys, you're gonna go for the free trial and then you're gonna forget you put your credit card in.
Exactly.
You're gonna need Bridge Credit Solutions because you're gonna forget that you didn't pay for that, whatever. But you've gotten busy now on TikTok and you've gotten busy on other platforms. You have 100,000 followers on TikTok actually, and you do spend a lot of time making videos, not just about business advice, but in small ways you're teaching Torah.
Yeah.
And
Glad you
hundreds
saw
of
it.
thousands of people are watching these videos. My stance, just because like on TikTok, is I don't encourage people to download TikTok. I think
I agree.
It's a crazy app.
Do not. I mean, if we say people don't, then they will.
No, it's not a good place to be.
No, I agree.
It's not a good place to be.
I agree.
I put content on there because I'm trying to capture people.
Sure.
I'm trying to bring them to see more of our content.
Sure.
And we posted a video of Chase Taub yesterday on TikTok.
I saw it.
Has over 350,000 views.
Sweet.
And it's like wild. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
And it's just social media has that. I don't think TikTok is a good place though. I don't think it's a
not.
place that you should download to go see Berel's content or go see my content.
Right.
There's other places for that.
Yes.
But you've had a lot of success on these platforms.
Yes.
What do you see that shlichus like, that avoda? What's that like for you?
Right. So, here's how I started. When I was not religious, I was on Facebook. There was only one social media.
Everyone was on Facebook.
I was on Facebook, and I was always using it as a business tool. So I always used it to bring people to the nightclubs. It was just like my secret sauce. When people would take pictures of their events and put their logo on the right-hand side, I invited videographers, and I was the first big promoter in at least Montreal to start taking videos of the events. And people would show up to my parties because they wanted to be on the video the next day. As I started to become religious, I just totally left it because, again, I was trying to distance myself from that world.
Right.
And then I went to go work in my family business. I didn't need it. I didn't need social media because it was like a very B2B cold business. It was metal recycling, so we just didn't need it. When I left my family business, I needed to get my new business started. So I remember I made this video of my launch of my company, and I posted it on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. And nothing worked. And then LinkedIn was the last one I tried. I barely used it. I forgot my password. I posted it, and bam, it blew up. It had 10,000 views. I had 300 followers. 10,000 views. 200 congratulations. 50 people messaging me. I was like, whoa, this blew up. And I was able to leverage LinkedIn. I made LinkedIn cool. Okay. I take 100% credit. Okay. Humility out the door. Okay. I'm throwing away the humility. I paved the way with God's help for every religious guy on LinkedIn.
Whoa, that's a statement.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, if
wanna
they're
take it to the
watching it
bank?
and if they're on LinkedIn and they were there with me 6 years ago, they'll say, yeah, it was you. Okay.
Wow.
Religious guys that had beards and kippahs,
Mark, you're on LinkedIn, no?
they would have
I'm not active on LinkedIn.
Right.
Twitter, stop cringing right now, okay? Okay? I take no responsibility for you. But no religious guys had with beards or kippahs were had pictures because they're
Right.
ashamed.
LinkedIn is now is very from.
The best.
Like
Why?
Like
Full LinkedIn events, right?
Like
I used to- the biggest. I used to
Expos.
Yeah.
I used to make the biggest LinkedIn events until LinkedIn like cracked down on us and said we can't use their name anymore, which is why you haven't seen.
Interesting.
So
Any LinkedIn
I guess that's how you know when you make it.
Yeah, like
When
LinkedIn
calls you, stop.
cracked down. Yeah, like head office, corporate.
So you like call it different
Wow.
things.
No, I got a lawyer's letter. All me and everyone that was
Cease
doing
and
it.
desist.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Shout out to like Joel Wall and all my partners at the time.
Wow.
Like LinkedIn corporate. Like Bill
Litigious.
sent us an email. Gates. No, just it wasn't Bill. It wasn't. It was his henchman.
Wow.
But yeah,
Bill Gates owns LinkedIn.
right.
Microsoft
Yeah.
bought
So,
it.
anyways, I started using all these things for business. But what I noticed is that. Okay, I'm going to make another big statement. When I see a religious guy just talking about money, or just talking about business, or just talking about anything for that matter, politics or whatever it is, it makes me nauseous. It makes me squirm. It makes me feel uncomfortable because as Jewish people,
On social media or just in general?
social media,
Okay.
in their personal life, they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But if it's on social media and if they're not mentioning God and if they're not mentioning a little Torah thought, to me, it's just like it's a chilul Hashem because we'll never out business the Gentile world. We'll never out politic the Gentile world. We'll never out smart or out cook or whatever it is. The only thing that Jews have to offer to the world is
Our secret sauce.
our secret sauce.
It's like even Ben Shapiro with the
Our knowledge
platform
of
he
God.
has, like he uses that platform and he sprinkles in a lot of wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
From
Values. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Values.
values.
Exactly.
Values. Not even like, it's funny like today, like, cause when we're recording this, President Biden just got diagnosed with COVID. Ben tweeted something and you were like, Refuah Shlema. It's just like Ben, that like 95% of the people who read that are not going to, but he just does these things,
You know-
but
He knows how to keep his people close.
yeah.
So it's sort of when I sprinkle in like, so you what is my shlichus like, I guess, is that first of all, I feel that it gives me permission. So when I sprinkle in God into my content online, it gives me permission to be boisterous online. Otherwise, like, what are you doing? It's like,
Right.
we're so much more than that. Jews are so much more than money. We're so much more than business. We're so much more than whatever it is. There's a story that defines my Judaism. May I share it with you?
Sure.
This one story defines you'll understand me if you understand the story. David Chase. I don't know if you know who this is.
Yeah.
One of the most successful. Chase Bank. One of the most
Really?
prolific. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. One of the most prolific Jewish businessmen to ever walk the face of the earth.
Fact check that.
Yeah, fact check.
It's really.
Yeah. And David Chase had a very close relationship with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. One day at a Farbringen, the Lubavitcher Rebbe is telling the story about David, and which was very rare. He didn't tell stories about people, like normal, regular people. And he said that there's a billionaire who owns a yacht. It was David. And every day at 4:00, he would call the captain of the yacht and ask which way is east. And you heard the story or no?
No.
No.
And which way is east? And every day for like weeks. Finally, the yacht captain got the courage to ask his boss, like, why are you asking? Do you want to become a captain? Like, if you want, I could show you the controls. Like, what do you need? And he said, no, I have to pray at every day, mincha, towards Jerusalem. And it happened many years later that somebody ran into the yacht driver, and he became a total chassid, religious, Shomer Shabbos, everything. And they asked him, like, what inspired you to become religious? He said, David Chase was the richest, most successful, most powerful man that I've ever met in my life. And if that man believes in God, then I should probably believe in God also.
Wow.
And that's for me, like, that's my motivation, why I want to become rich, why I want to be so successful, why I want to be wealthy, is because I believe that in this world, they have an expression, money talks, BS walks. And when people see that a person, that's my shlichus. I'm not saying that everybody, by the way, nobody gave me that shlichus. It's a self-proclaimed shlichus. I have a vendetta to become extremely wealthy and successful with Hashem's help, because I believe that in this world, people respect extremely wealthy people. And when you say you believe in God, it will give other people a reason to believe in Hashem as well.
Wow.
Berel, tell us a little bit about what you got working on right now.
Oof, I have a new movie coming out.
It's really exciting.
Very exciting. So I don't know when you're like catching this. So you might be catching this after it's released, so it may not make sense. So if it's after it's released, please go check it out. It's called In God We Test. And I went across the world and I interviewed the most successful Jewish business people, men and women, that I could find. Surprisingly, it was much more difficult than you would believe, because
I believe it'd be pretty difficult.
Do you? For me, that's like a crazy thing. I guess it's like that humility thing. I guess I'm willing to do what other people are not.
Yeah.
But yeah, the richer you are, like the less you want to be on camera about your money.
Yeah, like nothing to gain.
Right. So I traveled around the world to find the most successful Jewish business people I could find and grill them about why they're successful. And really what it came down to was that they test God with charity. And every uber rich person that I interviewed had the same, it boiled down to the same thing. And I myself have been testing God with charity for 6 years. You're not allowed to test Hashem with anything in the world. You're allowed to test him with one thing and one thing only, and that's tzedakah.
What does it mean to test God with tzedakah?
Great. So you make a pledge. Something that is, you're testing Hashem with, something that you're not comfortable with donating over the course of the year. It shouldn't be, disclaimer, it shouldn't be irresponsible, and it shouldn't be impossible, but it should be something that is a stretch. And you test Hashem, and Hashem says, test me with this one thing, which is giving tzedakah. And you test him to see if he will repay you that money times, you'll watch the movie, but times 4. Because if you have 5 and you give away, if you give away 1, Hashem has to leave you with 4 that's yours to keep. So it's a 20th. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you give $10, Hashem has to give you $4 if you give $1, 40. Hashem has to give you $4 to keep, because that $1 became your 20%. You understand?
Yeah.
So I started doing this, like, unconsciously. I didn't even know about this whole concept. I like giving tzedakah. I like how it feels. I like the kavod that comes with it. I like the whole thing. And I 1 year I gave $18,000. It worked. Next year 36. Next year 72. 2 years ago my rabbi asked me for $100,000. I said yeah. I was left with that year, Baruch Hashem, more money than I ever had been left with, and I had given the whole $100,000 in the same year.
That's simple, folks.
Like last year I pledged $250,000 to tzedakah, and in Elul I will, God willing, have completed every single penny of it.
What's the shame?
Are you ready for a challenge?
Bang!
What's the challenge? Well, Momo challenges, like
Yeah, look out.
By the way,
$500,000.
Do you know what a Momo challenge? What the Momo challenge is? Do you remember the Momo challenge?
No.
Google it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What should I not say?
I'm not familiar with that.
Google Momo challenge.
Or don't.
Or don't.
Yeah, don't. If you want to sleep tonight.
No, we were talking earlier about challenging
Yes.
Ben Shapiro.
Tell me.
So I have a different challenge for you.
Tell me.
You shared that when you give charity, you like the way it makes you feel.
Yes.
And you like the covered.
Yes.
I challenge you to give a very meaningful piece of charity, let go of that second piece,
Of the
and
kavod?
look how the first one explodes.
Let go of the kavod?
Mm-hmm.
Give something anonymously. Just once.
Yeah. Maybe I should.
Try it.
Look.
See what happens.
I cut out so many taivas. I cut out weed. I cut out cigarettes, partying. Leave me with one thing. Leave me with one
so
thing.
Good. I'm telling you.
Wow.
It's a bigger taiva.
We're going to follow up with you on
When
that
you let
in a
go
few months.
of the covered,
Sure.
the feeling of helping people is
Sure.
mamish.
Sure. Fair. Look, I'm human. I have taivas. I like the kavod for giving tzedakah.
Challenge accepted.
If that's where my
it's a holy
kavod comes
taiva.
from, right?
But I'm telling you, if taiva is what you're looking for,
It's an edel
the
taiva.
taiva of giving without covered is even bigger.
Interesting. Okay, I'll take it up.
Challenge accepted?
Momo challenge. Accepted.
All right. Sounds good. Berel Solomon.
So I have that movie coming out.
Yeah.
God willing, look out for it. I think it's going to be explosive. I think it's going to change the world. I think that it's coming right at the right time, because I think that, and I'll tell you selfishly, my kavana behind the movie, I don't really care about the institutions that the money is going to. Like, the institutions will succeed without me or you. Like, there's plenty of guys out there that are big machers that are giving tens of millions of dollars a year. My selfish reason why I'm making it is because today people are struggling terribly with finances. It's very expensive to live. I went to the grocery store the other day. Groceries used to cost me $400 a week. Like Canadian dollars, $500 a week. Now my grocery bill is like $800 a week Canadian. So what is that? Like 600 US. Like everything went up. Gas, everything. I think people are really, really crunched right now. I think people are really struggling right now more than they ever have. My selfish reason for doing this film is I know that when a person gives tzedakah more than he's capable of, then Hashem will bless him with more money.
So it sounds so selfish.
Well, usually it's like, oh, I really want good for the organizations that they're giving to.
Right.
I really want to, for the people that are giving, it's not even about the organizations because they'll survive. Hashem will take care of them. I want to take the guys that are currently earning $60,000 or $70,000 a year, have them pledge $20,000 or $30,000 a year to tzedakah, and their salary or business or income will be bumped up to 120 or 150. And then those same guys that are now at 150 are going to pledge 50 or 60, and then they're going to get bumped up to $250,000. And this is the real, true secret. The name of the movie is In God We Test, the Jewish Secret to Wealth. And that really is, we're not smarter business and people than anybody else. The Goyim have the Chachma, not us. But we have Torah, and Hashem says, test me with this, with tzedakah.
Beautiful.
Wow.
So drop the mic right there. Berel Solomon, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode of Meaningful People.
Me too. I really hope you did too.
I posed a question to you in the middle of the episode. You know, Berel is someone that did not grow up religious. You know, he was sort of like a Yom Kippur Jew sometimes, you know, that he had mentioned. And I had said to you, do you wish that you were also not from birth to be able to experience some of those beginner Judaism inspiration stuff when as an adult and to have that greater impact? And I don't know if you answered on the episode, so I'm just going to call you out and like try to get an answer from you now.
Oh, God bless you. No, so the answer is absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely
You're happy
not.
that you're from birth.
I'm grateful every single day for my upbringing, for my religious upbringing. And I'm also grateful to speak to people like Berel Solomon that helped me develop the perspective to know what I have had my entire life so that I could appreciate it.
Right. And it's so different. There's so many people who did not grow up from, and I think there's beauty to both. And
of course, and everyone has their own purpose, and everyone has their own story, and everyone has their own journey, and we're all on a different station within that journey. But it's tailor made for you, and for you, and for you. And for you. And for you. So go ahead and head to Touro. Oh, my bad. Whoa, I don't even know where I was going. Anyways, guys. Outro, Nachi.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can go ahead and head to Meaningful. You can go ahead and head to meaningfulminute.org for some bonus content, some articles, and some good stuff all around.
Good stuff.
If you're walking in Central Avenue and it's a random Monday night, just hello down there. Say hi. We'd love to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for leaving reviews and
do
ratings.
People listen to the outros, by the way?
I don't know.
It's hard to know.
How do we find out?
I don't know. We don't have good data on that.
What should we have them do? We'll comment on the YouTube video if you listen.
Yeah. Okay.
Or leave a review if you listen to the outro, because Momo doesn't think people listen to the outro.
I'm not convinced that people do. I feel like
it's like Elenu.
No, people love Elenu.
Wow. They say good things about Elenu.
Oh, Elenu is hailing.
Elenu has 5 stars.
Elenu is amazing, but I feel like once the guest leaves, I imagine people are just like.
Okay, we'll find out. If you listen to the outro, just let us know somehow. Call Momo 917-642. See you next week, guys. Bye.